What if I told you that the strongest, most unbreakable relationships in the world don't survive on love alone? That two people can be madly in love and still fall apart. That attraction isn't enough. Chemistry isn't enough. Even loyalty isn't enough. Because underneath the surface of every high-value relationship, beneath the sweet texts, the shared goals, the steamy nights, lie four invisible habits. Habits most couples don't even realize are working silently in the background, either holding them together or tearing them apart. So here's the question you've probably never asked yourself, but need to. What if the survival of your relationship has nothing to do with what you're doing when things are easy, and everything to do with what you unconsciously do when things are hard? Stick with me, because in the next few moments, we're going to peel back the curtain on something most people never see until it's too late. And once you do, you won't look at love the same way again. Let's start by revisiting a quiet moment from history. A story not written in textbooks, but whispered in the hearts of those who have loved deeply. During the Second World War, a young woman named Emily Schindler risked her life every single day, quietly working behind the scenes while her husband, Oskar Schindler, used his influence to save the lives of over 200 Jews. You know his name from the movie, but hers. Most people never speak it. Why? Because Emily's contribution wasn't loud or public. It was intimate, hidden. She cooked, nursed, sheltered, and comforted in silence. She endured betrayal, rumors of infidelity, the weight of war, and still chose every day to stay and do what she believed was right. That's the first whisper of a truth we'll return to again and again. The highest value relationships are often built on invisible foundations, the kind you don't see but feel, the kind you don't post but live. Now imagine this. Two couples walk into a therapist's office. One of them is loud. They argue, they bicker, they roll their eyes, but they laugh sometimes too. They hold hands. Their fights are fiery, but so is their passion. The other is quiet, no arguments, no raised voices. They smile politely, say, please, and thank you. They look picture perfect. Guess which one the therapist is more concerned about? The quiet one, because hidden resentment, unspoken disappointment, emotional withdrawal mask as maturity, those are silent killers. That's a relationship dying behind closed doors, while everyone else says they're the perfect couple. That's why today we're not talking about cliches. We're not giving you the tired advice you've already heard 100 times. We're going deep into the places where real love either roots itself or rots. Let me take you on a journey. And somewhere along the way, you'll recognize yourself, your patterns, your wounds, your strengths. And if you're brave enough, by the end of this journey, you'll be equipped to either save the relationship you're in or build one worthy of the love you've always wanted. So let's begin with the first hidden habit that keeps high-value relationships alive. But before we name it, I want to tell you a story. It's not a fairy tale. It's real, and it begins in silence, in the quiet space between words, in the way a man puts his phone down, not to check it again, but to really look at her. In the way a woman doesn't react to his frustration, but listens without taking it personally. In the way two people choose presence over performance. That's our first hidden habit. Emotional presence during discomfort. Not just being present when things are good. Not just showing up when there's laughter and connection, but choosing to stay emotionally available even in conflict. Disappointment, misunderstanding. And this is hard. Because we're taught to run from discomfort, to shut down when we feel triggered, to punish when we feel hurt, to distract when we feel vulnerable. But what makes a high-value relationship magnetic, resilient, is that both people learn how to sit in the fire without burning each other down. They learn that emotional presence means saying, "I'm angry right now, but I'm not leaving. I'm confused, but I still want to understand you. I feel hurt, but I won't use that hurt to hurt you." Think about it. How often do we pull away when we should lean in? How many connections die not from explosive arguments, but from the slow, unnoticed erosion of emotional unavailability? A study conducted by Dr. John Gottman, who spent over 40 years researching relationships, found that he could predict with over 90% accuracy whether a couple would stay together or not. You know what the key predictor was? Not money, not sex, not shared hobbies, but how they handled conflict, whether they turned toward each other or away. In high-value relationships, conflict is not an emergency. It's an opportunity, a doorway, a test of presence. And here's the irony: the more emotionally present you are during hard moments, the fewer hard moments you actually have. Because presence de-escalates, it soothes, it heals. When someone knows you're not going to run, the second things get uncomfortable, they relax, they open, they trust. And from that trust, intimacy deepens. So ask yourself right now, when tension arises, do I turn toward or away? Do I stay emotionally open, or do I shut down and retreat into self-protection? Am I able to stay with the moment long enough to actually grow through it, rather than just survive it? Because that's where love matures. Not in the feel good highs, but in the uncomfortable middles. Now let's look at the second hidden habit. But first, I want you to picture someone you respect deeply, someone whose opinion you trust, someone who, even when they disagree with you, makes you feel safe. What is it about them that earns your respect? Is it that they're always agreeable? No. Is it that they avoid conflict? Definitely not. Chances are it's this: they communicate boundaries with clarity and kindness. That brings us to the second hidden habit: respectful boundary signaling. And here's where most people get this wrong. They think boundaries are walls. They think they're ultimatums. They think saying no will make them unlovable. But in truth, boundaries are bridges. They're not designed to keep people out. They're designed to protect the relationship from resentment, confusion, or toxicity. High-value couples understand this. They don't see boundaries as confrontational, but as clarifying. Think of it this way. When you walk into a house and see clear signs, please remove shoes, no smoking, or quiet hours after 10, do you feel attacked? No. You feel informed. You know how to respect the space. In relationships, when boundaries are clear and compassionate, they become invitations to intimacy, not obstacles to it. But here's the real secret. It's not just about setting boundaries. It's about signaling them early, respectfully, and consistently. That means you don't wait until you're fuming to say, "You never text me back." You say early on, "Consistent communication is important to me." When I don't hear from someone for days, I tend to feel disconnected. That's a signal, a roadmap. And guess what? Healthy people appreciate boundaries because it tells them where they stand. It gives them structure to succeed in loving you. Let's go deeper. The philosopher Alain de Botton once said, "Compatibility is an achievement of love. It must not be its precondition." In other words, compatibility isn't something you just have. It's something you build. And one of the tools you build it with, boundaries, but more specifically, the habit of communicating them with grace. You see, low-value relationships confuse boundaries with punishment. They use silence as a weapon, withdrawal as manipulation, anger as a means to control. But high-value relationships, they use boundaries to teach each other how to win. They understand that when you teach someone how to love you, not by force, but by example, you give them the tools to thrive in connection with you. And if they don't want to, well, that reveals something too. Boundaries don't chase people away. They reveal who's meant to stay. So take a moment right now and ask yourself, where am I unclear about what I need? What do I expect people to just know? Instead of communicating directly, have I confused silence with strength or resentment with righteousness? Because the couples who go the distance, they don't just love well. They teach each other how to love better. That's where we'll pause for now. So far, we've uncovered 2 of the 4 hidden habits: emotional presence during discomfort, respectful boundary signaling, and we've only just scratched the surface. There's something haunting about silence in a relationship that used to echo with laughter. It's not the kind of silence that soothes. It's the kind that screams. The kind that tiptoes in slowly, one missed moment at a time, one unspoken truth. One, "I'm fine," that wasn't. And eventually, one partner becomes a stranger. But here's the question that most people never dare to ask themselves. What did I stop doing when the love started feeling safe? You see, the downfall of most relationships isn't conflict. It's comfort. It's the moment we think the work is done. That because we've found someone, we no longer need to show someone they matter. And that brings us to the 3rd hidden habit, the ritual of intentional appreciation, not surface level compliments, not the automated thank you when they hand you something, but deep, intentional recognition that says, "I still see you." Let's go back in time to someone whose life was shaped by quiet rituals. Mr. Fred Rogers. Yes, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. To many, he was just a children's show host. But behind that soft voice and cardigan sweater was a man who deeply understood human connection. He once said, "There's no person in the whole world like you, and I like you just the way you are." That wasn't just a sweet sentiment. It was his philosophy. Fred would write thousands of handwritten letters to fans, friends, and strangers alike. He made phone calls to people grieving, hurting, celebrating. Why? Because he understood what most people forget. To be seen is to be loved. And yet in relationships, over time, we stop looking. We stop noticing. We stop appreciating the small things because we've grown used to them. She always makes the bed. He always fills the car up with gas. She always remembers your mom's birthday. He always rubs your back when you're stressed. And slowly, the extraordinary becomes invisible. But here's what you must remember. Appreciation isn't optional. It's survival. Studies show that couples who express gratitude regularly are more satisfied, more resilient during conflict, and less likely to break up. Because appreciation is the fuel of emotional safety. It's what tells someone, you're not taken for granted. You still matter. I still choose you. Intentional appreciation looks like, I noticed how you stayed calm earlier when I got upset. That meant a lot. I saw you clean the kitchen before I got home. Thank you. I felt really cared for. I know work has been heavy on you lately, but you've still made time for us. That effort doesn't go unnoticed. These are not grand declarations. They are micro acts of reverence. Quiet gestures that whisper, you are still worth honoring. Think of a couple in their 70s, still holding hands, still chuckling over inside jokes, still learning new things about each other. You think they made it by luck. No, they made it by habit. And at the center of that habit was appreciation that never went silent. Take President Jimmy Carter and his wife, Rosalind. They were married for over 77 years, a record even among world leaders. Through political upheaval, cancer, controversy, and age, they remained best friends. When asked what kept their love alive, Jimmy said, "What give each other space to be individuals, but we also come back to each other every day with kindness. It's not rocket science. It's ritual." Now, here's a truth most don't want to admit. You can love someone deeply and still fail to make them feel loved. Because love that isn't expressed isn't felt. And love that isn't felt doesn't survive. So ask yourself, where have I grown blind to the beauty I once praised? Now, let's lean into the fourth hidden habit. One so quiet that even self-aware couples miss it until they look back and realize it was the thread keeping everything together. The habit of shared growth. Not just growing as individuals. That's vital, of course. But we're talking about growing as a unit, side by side, shoulder to shoulder, holding space not just for who they are, but for who they're becoming. Let me take you to the life of Eleanor and Franklin D. Roosevelt. Yes, their relationship was complex, marred by infidelities and long separations. But what's often forgotten is that they evolved together, intellectually and ideologically. Eleanor became one of the most influential women in American history. But she didn't do it alone. Franklin didn't suppress her growth. He supported it. And she didn't abandon his ambitions. She championed them. Their love wasn't built on fantasy. It was built on two people growing forward, even when the path was steep. High-value relationships understand this. Stagnation is a slow death. When two people stop being curious about the world, about each other, about their future, they stop building. And love that doesn't build collapses. Shared growth looks like reading the same book and discussing it, going to therapy or coaching together, exploring spirituality or wellness practices side by side, dreaming about a life 5 years from now and building backward from it. It's about saying, let's not just survive life together. Let's create it. But here's the twist. Sometimes shared growth means supporting your partner's individual growth. Even when it scares you, it means celebrating their wins that don't include you. It means holding their hand when they outgrow a version of themselves you once knew, and trusting that they're growing toward you, not away. It's the opposite of codependency. It's interdependence, a conscious dance between you, me, and we. Because love at its highest level is not a prison. It's a platform, a launch pad, a sacred agreement to help each other become more, never less. So let's step back and breathe again. You've now seen all 4 hidden habits that keep high-value relationships alive. Consistent emotional tuning, protecting the sacred space, the ritual of intentional appreciation, the habit of shared growth. None of these require wealth or perfect timing or fairy tale luck. They require awareness, intentionality, and the bravery to love consciously, not automatically. The kind of love that doesn't just say, I love you, but says, I choose to keep learning how to love you better. Now, maybe you're feeling hope. Maybe you're feeling grief. Maybe both. That's okay. Because becoming a high-value partner doesn't begin with finding the right person. It begins with becoming the kind of person who can sustain right love when it arrives. So now you know the habits. You've seen the quiet rituals, the invisible choices that sustain high-value love. But what happens when they're missing? What happens when emotional tuning turns into emotional absence? When the sacred space gets polluted with sarcasm, silence, or subtle dismissals? When appreciation dries up and your presence becomes background noise? When shared growth is replaced with personal stagnation or competing egos? Here's the painful truth that most people only realize when it's already too late. Most relationships don't die in one moment. They die in 1,000 missed ones. It's the dinner where neither person looks up from their phone. The apology never given because of pride. The dream shared but dismissed. The need expressed but minimized. Each moment chips away at the foundation, not with earthquakes, but with quiet, consistent erosion, until one day someone doesn't feel safe anymore, doesn't feel seen, doesn't feel chosen. And here's the even harder truth: Sometimes, by the time you realize it, they've already emotionally left the room. But this is where we pivot, because this is not a story about endings. It's a story about becoming. And becoming means this: you can be the one who breaks the cycle. You can be the one who starts tuning in, even when the signal feels faint. You can be the one who protects the sacred space, even if it's already been hurt. You can be the one who begins again, with appreciation, with growth, with a quiet decision to love better than you did yesterday. Let me tell you the story of Lisa. Lisa was married for 12 years. She and her husband, Mark, had what most people would call a good marriage. No cheating, no yelling, 2 kids, vacations every year, smiles at dinner parties. But one day, Lisa woke up and realized something terrifying. She felt more alone in the relationship than she ever had outside of it. Not because Mark was cruel, but because over time they had become polite strangers, masters of logistics, not intimacy. Roommates, not lovers. She tried to talk about it, but Mark didn't understand. "We're fine," he'd say. Don't fight. We have a good life." And that's the trap. Sometimes the absence of conflict is confused with the presence of connection. Eventually, Lisa gave him an ultimatum: "We'll get help, or I leave." Reluctantly, they went to therapy, and in that small office, with a stranger listening in, Mark finally heard something he hadn't before. She doesn't feel loved. Not because you don't love her, but because you stopped showing it in the way she needs to receive it. That broke something open in him. He wept. And for the first time in years, so did she. From that day, Mark changed, not perfectly, not quickly, but consistently. He started asking, "How can I support you today?" He started initiating affection, planning dates, leaving notes on her pillow. He tuned in, he repaired, he grew. Years later, Lisa would tell a friend, "I fell in love with him twice. The first time was easy. The second time he earned." You don't have to wait until the damage is irreversible. You can make the shift now. Start with the smallest act of courage awareness, then move to the second ownership. Because whether you're single, dating, married, or healing, the work begins with you. And here's what I want you to hear loud and clear. You are not too much to love. You are not too late to learn. And your past mistakes do not disqualify you from becoming someone who loves deeply, powerfully, consciously. Let's go deeper for a moment. Think of love as a house. Not a perfect one, not a mansion, but a home built with your own hands. The 4 hidden habits we've explored. They're the pillars. Consistent emotional tuning. The windows that let the light in. Protecting the sacred space. The walls that keep the storms out. Intentional appreciation. The warmth of the fire inside. Shared growth. The roof that rises higher year after year. Without them, the house may look fine from the outside, but inside it's cold, fragile, one storm away from collapse. But with them, that house becomes a refuge, a place where both people can show up flawed and still feel safe. Where love isn't a performance, but a practice. Where 2 people aren't just coexisting, they're co-evolving. And maybe right now you're wondering, what if my partner doesn't meet me halfway? What if I'm doing this alone? That's real. But here's the thing, real transformation doesn't start with them. It starts with you. You model emotional tuning by truly listening, even when they don't. You protect the sacred space by managing your own triggers and repairing when needed. You express appreciation, even if it's not reciprocated yet. You grow not to shame them, but to invite them forward. And sometimes they rise with you, sometimes they don't. But either way, you win. Because when you become the kind of person who loves consciously, you attract or inspire the same. Let's close with this. There's a poem by the Persian poet Rumi that says, "The wound is the place where the light enters you." Maybe your relationship has been wounded. Maybe you have. But in that wound lies an invitation, an opening, a light. So if you're sitting here now, heart open, maybe even a little broken, know this: you are not alone. There are millions of people who were never taught how to love consciously, but are learning now. And you're one of them. You have the tools now. You know the 4 habits. You know the power of showing up, not just in love, but with love. Now, you get to choose. Will you let this just be another video? Or will this be the moment your entire relationship philosophy changed? Will you scroll on? Or will you turn inward and ask, what kind of lover, partner, friend, human do I now choose to become? Because high-value relationships aren't found, they're forged. And the forging starts right now, with you. Hanse al to astion for viewers. If this spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone you care about. Rewatch it when you need reminding. And above all, remember this: you deserve a love that doesn't just survive. You deserve a love that builds you. And now you know how to build it too. Until next time, stay magnetic, stay conscious, stay open, because the kind of love you want, it begins with who you become when no one's watching. And now you're ready.